I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
Oh boy, what a great day. Hi friends, it's Oops the Podcast. I'm Francis. I'm joined as ever by my dear friend Giulio.
Yeah, baby.
Oh baby. And of course, big guest today, star of Bravo's Summer House, star of the upstart sparkling hard tea brand Loverboy, star of my life. It's crazy Carl Radke. Carl.
Hello, boys.
How are you, buddy?
up, bro?
I'm good.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, this is actually this is on the top of my list of things I wanted to do today.
Love that.
Wow.
It's good.
No, I love your stuff. You guys are funny, and I do have I hung out with Giulio in the Hamptons.
Yes.
We've
good
connected
time.
a few times, but not as much as I'd like. So this feels good.
This is good, man.
You two will be featured on the show together. Is that right?
I believe so.
That's
he
great.
came at a weird time too. There was a lot going on. There was like a whole girl fight, and
Dude, it was unbelievably like good timing as far as like drama unfolding.
Yes.
you walked right into the
I walked
the
right
blaze.
into it.
Yeah.
And it was actually a real drama. Like that was like a real fight.
Dude.
So that's what made it
As
cool.
opposed to the contrived alley-oop fights.
Or really drunk fights. This was a sober. You came on a Sunday morning, I believe.
Yeah.
Or like Sunday early afternoon.
Sunday, like,
Oh, God.
We weren't even drunk yet. So when you fight when you're sober, you know it's real.
Dude, it was
Yeah.
funny. Like, remember that scene in The Karate Kid where Daniel meets those kids who he's going to go to the beach with? And the guy's kind of like explaining how things work. That's how it was like when Carl was like, so here's the deal. He's like,
Yeah.
he's like, we, drinking low carb. Like he like showed me his drink. He's like, good alternative options for like getting fucked up. He's like partying. He's like, we try to work out. He was like walking me through it. And then he was playing tennis with me before while Hannah was like drying her eyes.
Yeah, she was crying inside. I mean, I appreciate it. I was like, you're a Sherpa. of sorts.
Dude, you made me feel very comfortable. I appreciated that because not everybody was as ready to sort of like make me feel comfortable.
It was one of those things. Like I've been on this show now 4 years, and I love how you didn't say hit TV show. You edited yourself there.
4 seasons.
I'm not
It's
a liar.
implied. It's
you know?
implied.
I'm not a
It's not-
dishonest person. So.
Now star is a whole other thing too.
You are the star of that show.
I'm a big part of it.
I think
but
you and Kyle are
Kyle.
the two stars of that show.
I think Kyle and I were the OGs, and then Lindsay Hubbard, who's also an OG. We've been on for all 4 seasons. But kind of back to Giulio's point is like we've had friends that come over and like they think they know what it's going to be like, or they think they have an idea of just the scale. I mean, there's cameras literally everywhere in that place. There's microphones in every headboard and every little wall. Then there's like the big cameras of guys walking around with them. So like you walk in and it's like, holy shit, what did I just walk into? So I always like to make sure that our guests and everybody's kind of like, this is the deal. This is how things are.
right.
And it all works out.
So for those of you who don't remember, because Hannah did tell the story when she came on our show, Giulio went over to the house, right?
To play tennis with him.
Why don't you guys give us what actually happened?
you drive a really sweet G-Wagon.
Wasn't my car. But yes, it was
I was like, this guy's pimping. He's like a tennis instructor / comedian. He drives a G-Wagon and he's trying to fuck Hannah.
right. Yeah.
Whoa.
So none of that is
kidding.
accurate. None of those statements are accurate.
Yeah, which one of those
the
is
comedian
true?
one is accurate. I'm not a tennis instructor. I was a tennis instructor. That car is not mine, unfortunately. That car is like $200,000. I had somebody lent me their car.
Those cars are sweet.
Long
though.
story. It was sick though. It was like a very sick G-Wagon. Also, I was very like taken aback when I arrived in the driveway and immediately like someone came at me with a clipboard and like started treating me like I wasn't a human. I was
Yes.
like, lady, I'm here to play tennis. Like, get the fuck out. She's like, sign this. I was like, okay.
They
And then,
make
like,
everybody on proper. It's a legality thing too, because
Right.
like if
That makes
someone
sense.
were to get hurt or you tear your ACL playing tennis, we
100%.
needed that signature.
fair enough. And then they made me like get back in the car. Like, can you go back in the car and get back? I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, I'm here to play tennis. I walk in.
Yeah, Giulio's like, fine, whatever.
Oh, they made
I
you
don't know."
re-enter.
They made me re-enter.
It's a whole thing with the cameras. They need to track everything that's going on just so for storyline. Like, let's say you were to walk in the house and like, I don't know, jerk off on Hannah's face.
They want to make sure.
They want to
get
make sure
that.
they have that.
What have you pictured the two of them a lot? I
Dude,
mean,
that
it's
is hilarious. They just cut to like Carl talking to the camera, being like, Hannah's friend showed up and something crazy happened. Cut to me being
Yeah.
like,
Coming up.
yeah, coming up on Summer House. But then Carl greeted me. He's like, dude, you got here at a weird time. I see Hannah just like walking, sobbing.
You two didn't know each other at all.
had never
Hannah
met.
actually told me, I think previously, because Hannah and I have played a little bit of tennis, and she's obviously, as everybody makes fun of her for, was a very competitive and really good tennis player. She said that she has a good friend coming over to hit and to like,
Right.
if you want to play too, like he's coming. And then this whole fight occurs and you had arrived.
Right.
They were all the ladies in the house were mad that Hannah had hooked up with Luke
Correct.
because they saw Luke as being a bad guy.
Some of the girls were not as favorable towards Luke and his actions. They think he's playing Hannah, and Hannah got. And I'm actually giving away a little bit of storyline here. I should.
But here's the thing. I've met Luke, and I know Luke to be a great guy.
He's a great guy.
He's so sweet.
He's on the show, right?
He's on the show.
I didn't realize that at the time.
He may not be coming back.
He's one of the new cast members.
We'll see.
Hannah joined last season, but I think that the challenge is what Bravo loves to see is like inner-house relationship.
Yes.
Hannah, it's an organic thing with Luke, and there's obviously the girlfriends that have their opinions, and Hannah, I think, was just like under all this pressure of like, I'm just having fun. I don't give a shit, but the girls are like trying to protect her and watch her back.
The girls got very manipulative. They thought they were the puppet masters of their romance. Meanwhile, these two young lovebirds were actually developing along a nice natural path. Too bad those puppet masters had to get their dirty paws involved in the cauldron of stew.
It's good words.
This is good.
Shit.
This is good. This is good.
But like, I guess for me, like Giulio, were you nervous upon entering? Like, I think people have a preconceived notion about getting there. Like, what was the previous, like, what did you think when you got there? And
I wasn't surprised that it was how it was. Like I've worked on shows before that had a reality component where people are signing releases and like all that kind of shit. And where they'll ask you to do something, the producers will come up and be like, hey, that was great. I love what you did. Would you mind just doing it again? Just so we have stuff to cut away to, like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So I wasn't like totally surprised by that. But the thing that I was the most surprised about was that when the girls were crying, I think Kyle was with us. And I was like, oh man, this is crazy. Like, this is hilarious. And he like didn't think that was funny that I said that. And he kind of like walked away and was like, and I was like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
he's
very serious.
This is the real deal.
I mean, I guess the challenge is like, we give a lot of our lives up. We get like, obviously the weekends are fun in the Hamptons, but it is work to some degree. And we bring a lot to the table that I think people don't really see from like the outside. Like Kyle and myself, a lot of the party planning, and then Lindsay included. I mean, everybody in the show, we throw a big ass rager. We clean that shit up. Like,
right.
We don't have a staff that comes in and like cleans up after our big house parties.
You could hire a maid service.
We could, but I think what the whole I guess show is about is like these hardworking New Yorkers. We don't have a ton of money. We like to have a good time, but we also put the work in.
But isn't that sort of the equivalent to when the Jersey Shore cast goes to that t-shirt shop and sells t-shirts for a few hours, and that's their job?
That's their job. To some degree it is.
Yeah.
But again, like I think Kyle's probably had a little chip on his shoulder. He's like, well, who the fuck's this guy? Like,
Right.
he doesn't know what we're dealing with and all that. Because there is a lot of pressure too. Just
Totally.
you do. I always make the joke. It was 4 years in a row for 12 weekends in a row that I've been doing this,
That's crazy.
which is insane.
That's
and like
a lot,
it's
yeah.
a lot.
You haven't missed a weekend, bro. You're like Cal Ripken.
I know, like
of
the
reality
streak.
fucking games, dude.
The streak, and last year I did dip away for a weekend, and they kind of advise you, they don't advise you, but if you have a wedding or something in the summer, like it's good to get a weekend out just because you go insane from Friday to Sunday. You're on camera and you're mic'd up basically,
And you're encouraged to rage.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
I mean, Bravo they're not like telling you to go get drunk, but like it's fun. We have a big ass house in the Hamptons. The group generally likes to get after it anyway. What else would I be doing? I mean, sure, some of the mornings we go to like Barry's boot camp or get a workout in, but 12 o'clock, I mean, if not 11, we're firing it up.
Right.
Plus we don't have to drive usually. So
Are you on the
Right.
beach?
we're not, we're actually in Watermill, which is back in kind of the woods. I mean, it's actually, I think, one of the highest property value areas in the Hamptons. I mean, beautiful home. We have no business really being there. We're very lucky.
You guys are north of the highway.
North of the
The
highway.
house is very nice, though.
It's nice. I mean, we've got a huge tennis court, basketball hoop, big pool.
It's a great house.
The house is begging to be raged in.
I would agree with that.
It's just waiting to be raged.
Now, here's a question.
Good yard.
Yeah.
Do you guys go to local bars?
Yeah, so we do. I mean, the comedy is I've actually met Kyle pretty much in the Hamptons previously to filming in any TV show. I knew Lindsay a little bit, but the core group, like, this is what we did anyway.
Mhm.
And Bravo.
Would you like rent a house?
We would rent a house. It's probably, maybe 4 or 5 weekends, not 12.
Right.
You share it with maybe a larger group and you kind of, pick and choose weekends you can make it. But for us, I mean, I know some of the local owners and the GMs of places. So we'll typically go to those spots because they take care of us. Now with the advent of Loverboy, this sparkling hard tea that Francis was talking about, we basically launched an alcohol brand on a TV show because all these other brands were basically giving us free booze and we're giving them incredible product placement.
Totally.
So like the Whispering Angels of the world, Rosé, Budweiser, Boston Beer, the first 2 seasons of the show, we're literally like, I mean, you can see it all over the show. We're giving this free product placement. Why wouldn't we drink something that we're a little more excited about?
And that was all your idea?
Not mine. It was Kyle.
But like, that's cool. So it wasn't like, that wasn't a Bravo meeting where they're
No.
like, why don't you guys, like you guys came up with that.
Totally. So that's
That's a
the thing
cool
people
thing
don't
to
really
know.
realize with Bravo is they don't give us alcohol. We're just savvy, kind of smart, entrepreneurial, business-minded people. We're like, okay, I have a friend in PR at Twisted Tea. So the first 2 seasons, we had shit tons of Twisted Tea. Now, if you ever had Twisted Tea, it's one of my favorite drinks. There's a crap load of sugar in it. And Kyle and I were kind of like 5 or 6 Twisted Teas in a weekend. We're like, dude, I'm getting a little inner tube around my waist and we're getting paid to have our shirts off. Why aren't we drinking something that's lower sugar, more transparent, more fun?
Right.
So over the course of the 2nd and 3rd season, the Trulies of the world and the White Claws of these seltzers were coming out. Sorry, my phone's ringing. My bad.
We can pause.
It's all good.
Pause.
No, you're good.
Take
You're
it?
good.
Okay.
It's actually, I don't want to talk to her. It's a
Got
chick
it.
from the UK.
Oh, ugly.
It's a plus 44 number.
Yeah.
Everything after she says XX.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she's like trying to like.
Sounds gross.
Sounds.
She sounds gross.
Carl gave me this exact spiel, by the way, as we walked to the tennis court.
So
about
yeah,
the
you're
brand.
this is a little redundant.
You got to
for you.
rehearse. This is good.
But I get, moral of the story is people think Bravo gives us the alcohol. They don't. We generated relationships with these brands to give us free stuff and a lot of other things. And even I got a company that sent us free sausage and like chicken burgers.
Cool.
Tight,
A
dude.
shout out to Amalou out of Chicago.
Fuck yeah.
Nice.
So we always were trying to like leverage different things to come in the house, but Loverboy kind of spawned out of this environment of we get drunk on the weekends, but we don't want to feel like shit the next day because we got to film. I mean, I don't know if you ever filmed hungover.
It's terrible.
It's fucking awful. Or
Yeah.
and or just sleepless, like not getting a lot of sleep. And that's generally what the show is about, is us kind of hungover and dealing with all these problems. But yeah, the Loverboy, we've been able to sell into a lot of the bars in the Hamptons. So long story short, few of the bars, the Southampton Social Club, we frequent a lot. They carried the product. They were one of the
It's a good
first
spot.
people to buy it. Funny story, Jamie Foxx was there this past summer and he was there with a big group. They had a cabana. And the waitress who, kind of deals with us was like, I was like, Jamie Foxx is over there. I was like, how do we get him some Loverboy? She's like, what do I got to do? She's like, all right, just walk over there with me. So I got a bucket of Loverboy. I kind of tiptoe into the crew and like,
Was the cameraman following you?
there was no cameras at this point. They kind of let us go off after a certain point in
Yeah.
time because the cameramen have certain hours they can work. So basically we're off on our own, not microphoned or anything, but like I got to be home at like 2 a.m. because it's going to be filmed again. But I walk over to Jamie's cabana and it's like, it almost reminds me of the scene I think from Black Sheep where Chris Farley goes in the backstage with all the Jamaican guys and they're all smoking weed and like carrying on.
Yeah.
He's just like the random dude in the room. Like that was me. And I like walk in. I'm like, hey guys, you want to try some Loverboy? And everybody just looks at me and like, get the fuck out of here. Basically was the moral of the story. I just set it down and go, just try it. And I walk away. I'm like, I almost literally just got killed by Jamie Foxx and his crew and got back to the cabana. And I look over like 10 minutes later, they're all like hammering them and carrying on.
Oh, yeah, man.
So I really wanted them to like post about it or talk about it, but they never did. But
Putting yourself out there, bro.
yeah, so yeah, we're out and about on different bars in Southampton we go to a lot, and then kind of the first season of the show was out in Montauk. So a lot of the establishments that we know pretty familiar with, like the surf lodges or the
Lodge,
Rushmeyers, Gurneys.
So would Surf Lodge let you come in and film?
this is a fun fact: Surf Lodge will not let anybody film.
I figured.
If you're Jay-Z and Beyonce and you want to do a music video, I would wager they probably wouldn't let them film there either.
I would argue that we should see if that's true.
You should try.
Yeah.
Jay-Z
You
and
should try.
Beyonce, you really think they wouldn't let them do it?
I would think so. It's just more about their want
Right.
to be in control of their content and their brand. They do film their concerts that they have on the weekends.
They also want to be known as the venue that turned down Jay-Z and Beyonce
Right.
from filming.
Correct.
That's a big part of they're so pride themselves so much on the list and the exclusivity. and-
Absolutely.
Every summer they say it's not going to happen. Every summer there's like, oh, the fire marshal. Like they're trying everything they can to try to get people not to.
And I
gather.
would think that, I'm a big fan of their place just due to the live music component. I saw Lupe Fiasco there last year, which was awesome. Wyclef Jean was there. You see some other cool, like Rufus Du Sol and some other great bands. But we like signing up for season 1 of Summer House. I'm like, yeah, we're going to film at Surf Lodge. Like, I just thought it was going to be basically just doing exactly what I did. And I was completely way off.
How many years has it been Watermill, the house?
This will be, what you're about to watch on season 4 is the 3rd year. And
So you did 1 year in Montauk, and then you went out to
correct.
Okay.
So for everybody listening who doesn't know about, these are all places in the Hamptons. This is all
Yeah.
the Hamptons.
Montauk
Yeah.
what is the farthest out town. It's the last town, the easternmost tip of Long Island. And it was 15 years ago, a sleepy surfing and fishing village.
Fishing town, yeah.
And then the Surf Lodge and the Sloppy Tuna started to gain some notoriety as nightclub venues, and all of a sudden, young people from New York City started flocking out on the Cannonball train on Friday afternoons
You know it well.
and getting share houses. I was one of these disciples when I was 24.
I remember your Cannonball
From
story.
24 to 27, I did a share house with my friends, much like what Carl was describing. The only difference between Carl and me is that I grew out of it, whereas he continued to dive deeper and deeper into this hellish fucking nonsense.
That's really funny.
But if you're a young person and you like boozing and having totally non-committed sex, it's a great place to go. Roll
We
up
all
your
like that.
sleeves, not wear condoms, whatever you want.
No one wears condoms.
No. Now,
I don't even think people that work at Trojan wear condoms.
they might not. They might not.
I do have a good oops though for you.
Oh, please.
I don't know if
You're right.
We were
can
gonna
jump on
ask.
it.
Absolutely.
So this is the second. Actually, was it second season? It was second or third season. Kyle had he's from the Boston area. He's from New Hampshire, which he says Boston. Bullshit. And he's a Pats fan. It's just like, I don't know.
That makes sense. I'm from Maine. It's the New England Patriots.
Yeah, it's the New England
It
Patriots.
encompasses all of
It's
our
true.
states.
It's
yeah.
legal. We had a protest to growing up. So we had a tea party. And we had rented a massive float that you can inflate, and it was basically a pirate ship. So everybody was dressed up. I dressed up as George Washington. Everybody, the girls dressed up as generals and colonial soldiers.
Everybody dressed up as men.
Kind of, yeah, because there was no women.
Were
back
they
then.
wearing skimpy colonial outfits? They somehow
It was
find
sexy
a way
colonial.
to make
Ben-
it sexy George
Benjamin
Washington.
Sexy George
Franklin.
Yeah, there was a sexy Ben Franklin, which still is not sexy no matter what you do to it. There was a sexy George Washington, and there was the British soldiers. The girls did sexy British, the red jackets and
Paul Revere.
Paul Revere. The British aren't coming. So we had this whole big ordeal of this big pirate ship, and then one of Kyle's group of friends, he's involved with the company Bird Dogs, which I actually think you know very well.
Yeah.
We love bird dogs.
Bird
love
Dogs are
them.
great. Shout
Yep.
out to the boys there. They came with a group of their friends, Bird Dogs guys, and basically they brought loose tea for the tea party, huge leaves of bags of gigantic, I honestly probably 100 pounds of loose tea.
Oh hell yeah.
So the
lot of
partying
tea.
continues. I think the Bird Dogs costumes were a little a little fucked up. Actually, they were wearing headdresses. I don't know how we feel about these days.
Okay.
I didn't find it too bad, but
No.
I don't know.
As long as they're not painting their faces red.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was.
As long as they're not going. Ooh.
Yeah, it was a lot of good fun.
Let's do all the bad things.
Let's just talk
Just
about
saying,
do
as
all
long
of
as
them.
they're not doing that.
As long as they're not scalping people.
Yeah,
you know?
no Geronimos here. In weekend after, the guests of the party usually are just getting hammered because a lot of what's the camera's catching is individual conversations or things. So people that come over I don't want to be on. I'm like, you're not going to be
Dude,
on.
Hannah said that exact same thing. That's really annoying of people. That's the people who are I want to work out, but I don't want to get really jacked. It's dude, you're a fat ass,
Well
dude.
said.
You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, you're
That's
not even
it.
close.
So people assume that when they come over that they're going to be in the show and this whole thing. And I can understand that notion. But anyway, a lot of the conversations are going in. So the people are partying and doing their thing, but people are now getting really fucked up. And there's unlimited alcohol. The party's pretty wild. There's very limited security. Someone at some point, now I'll tell you who it was later, but someone threw all the loose tea into the pool. Now, I can give you the video after. Basically, the pool started steeping. So we kept partying on through the night. I have a video of me cannonballing into the tea with my George Washington costume on. And literally the next morning I woke up and you can just see the steam coming from, because the pool was heated. So we're basically cooking up a huge batch of tea, hot tea in the backyard.
Tea.
That's
and the
crazy.
pool, it was black in the morning because it was a black tea, and it was really bad. The whole pool had to be drained and repainted because the walls of the inside were stained.
Holy fuck.
The landlord came over and had it was Kyle actually, and we didn't know because they had to watch the video playback So we have it on camera of him tossing the tea in because we didn't know who it was originally who tossed it in.
That's crazy.
In a way, it's lucky it was Kyle.
Very lucky.
Why is that?
Because he's the irreplaceable guy.
Yeah, he's the one
who-
guy that's.
Oh,
if anyone
he's the
else
main guy.
from the party or from the Bird Dogs guys had done it, they would have been in big trouble, I feel like.
Right.
Yeah, so like
Gotcha.
I'm gonna say I'll pull it up here when I can get a chance.
Dude, that's
but
like a horror movie. You're like, why is the pool water
the pool
black?
is destroyed.
Yeah.
And in the morning, like we have
Pooped in the
they're called like a
pool.
line. They're called
Did someone shit in the pool?
So-
All right, who did it?
they're called like a line producer, and we've dealt with some other issues. I mean, broken microphones. Someone
Right.
broke, a chair. Like we've had some damage over the
I would
years.
expect so.
Did anybody
Yeah.
ever get their ass beat?
I actually they tease a fight on the trailer.
I saw that.
Me and Luke go to a batting cage and basically get into a fight.
With each other?
Yeah,
And it's fine now? You're like,
we're cool now.
Wait. I want to see the picture, but then I do want to go
I
back
want to
to
show
that.
you.
This is fun. I'm so into this now. I love reality TV. I hate it, but I do like this one.
I thought you were a big fan.
I like you guys.
Francis is fake.
I like. I'm fake news. I like you guys a lot. I'm gonna tune into the show this year because I know you guys so well, but I haven't weighed in before. I saw just this whole world is fascinating to me. The question we asked Hannah when we had her on the pod that I want to ask of you is this: is there any part of you that feels that having done this massive commitment, this big chapter of your life on reality television and specifically on Bravo, might impede your ability to get jobs or define your life the way you want in the future?
I actually listened to this podcast when you asked Hannah this.
So don't give us her answer because
No.
her answer was very good.
No, her answer's good. I'll just back it up for a second. I went to school at Syracuse for TV and film. My original outset of graduation was to be producer, actor, model of sorts. So I entered that arena when I was 23 years old. I was actually acting, modeling in LA. I worked actually as a production assistant on, oddly enough, a production company that does reality shows. I got into sales. I got really good at it. And my whole goal was always to get back into the entertainment industry in some capacity, whether it's to invest in movies, whether it's to be a host, whether it's to attempt at modeling or acting. This was a vehicle to get into that world again. As far as my employment stuff, I mean, honestly, I've been fired 3 times from my jobs for being on the show, and more or less it's due to the
For being on the show?
it's a distraction. I'd worked at a software company. I still do get companies that'll direct message me and say, hey, we want to give you this new t-shirt that we have, this new stretchy workout shirt. I would go to their website because they're a digital e-commerce company. I'd look at it and I don't even know what size to buy. The software I sold was actually a review software that would be on the website. So it'd say, hey, I'm Joe Smith. I'm 6'4", 300 pounds. The medium's my size. So I'm not able to buy online because I don't really have enough information to convert. So that's the software I sold, but my company didn't see that all these companies were hitting me up, asking me for if I get their free stuff or would wear it. But I'd be like, you guys need my software. So I actually was able to kick ass at that job because of the world I'm living in,
That's cool.
being a social media influencer, if you want to call it that. So the challenge is kind of getting people to turn their eye to that. Honestly, we're going to get another season of the show. I'm pretty confident in. I'd like to spin this into continuing to do like hosting. I'm doing a podcast now. Obviously the entrepreneurial stuff I'm very interested in. I mean, I don't want to say Ashton Kutcher, but he's been on some terrible movies, but he's also invested in Twitter, Airbnb. He's
He's like a billionaire.
You're gonna
he
be the
does a
next
lot of
big
different
VC guy.
He does a lot of
crossover
different cool
VC guy.
stuff, and I'd like to kind of fashion my career there. So I don't know if that
Cool.
answered it.
No,
I'm not really that worried. I think when push comes to shove, I think enough people that I know my abilities as far as if I did need to get a sales job, someone would take a chance on me.
Sure.
It's just hard while working at a legitimate company and being on the show at
Right.
the same time. I think if the show's gone, that could come back.
Well, dude, it feels like conducive to me what you're doing with what you also want to do. Whereas I feel like it would be more difficult for Hannah because if you're doing stand up and you're doing that kind of stuff specifically, it's a little harder for your peers to kind of take you seriously. And I think she's doing a good job at getting through that. But it sounds to me like what you're doing, it's a direct thing that positively impacts you.
Totally.
And the same way that those broker shows, something about reality and sales really goes hand in hand.
It does.
And it seems like you guys have leveraged it really, really nicely with your brand.
Totally.
And it seems like you're doing that. It seems like you are doing well.
That's why
That's
when I
great.
originally Kyle initially brought it up to me to about the show, and this is again 4 years ago. I mean, Kyle's got his MBA. I went, I've pretty smart kid. So is he. So are the other people on our show. This is a platform, and if you take advantage of it, let's look at some of the other Bravo or MTV people. I mean, Kristen Cavallari on The Hills. I mean, she's got a big ass business that she's launched. I mean, you can even name Jersey Shore people if you want. Some of them just pay as long as they pay their taxes. Yeah. It was a way to get your name out of the pile and kind of generate a new level of just awareness around your own brand or your own company. And that's what Kyle initially told me when he's like, dude, this is not about banging chicks and getting drunk. I'm like, oh,
whoa!
Wait, you can bang chicks and get drunk, and you have a platform. Yeah. I'll do it. Yeah. So
cool.
I think the hardest part is getting people to kind of turn their mindset a little bit, because I mean, even the Kardashians, if you want to use their example, I mean, what that show has done for reality and their business and a lot of their lives, it's pretty insane. I think people have an appetite for seeing people that are fucked up, have weird lives, the stories of their lives, versus just watching a scripted show like Chernobyl.
So you mentioned the drinking, and you have been kind of tasked with going to this house every weekend for all these years and getting fucked up.
Yeah.
Even if it's not directly told, there is an implication of that's where we will find the gold. Has that affected you in a negative way? Have you found that you're drinking more than you would like to be?
Yeah, and I'm very vocal about this, or at least trying to be more, is, I've definitely, my drinking has gone through the roof since starting even the show, just because, acting and modeling, like I was never really that confident going into an audition or getting in front of a group of people and performing, let's say. But after 2 or 3 drinks, I was like my sweet spot. And the show kind of fueled that. I mean, like walking into a room now, like I can walk into a room with 1,000 people and be totally fine and get on the mic and talk. But the show kind of made me that first season. The first time I walked in the house, I'm like, where's the drinks? Like I can't, it was just so much and so intense. So it kind of fuels, like you said, is the drinking. But I think everybody has their right sweet spot of what they think they're funny or they're cool or they're social. And like, for me, it's like 8 or 9 fucking drinks. Yeah. And you do that for 4 days, for 12 weekends, for 4 years in a row. And then add in, all the other stresses of life and everything. So it's taken a toll. I mean, I've definitely had some challenges with, Bravo. They've mentioned, they're worried about my drinking a little bit.
And did they suggest that you go to rehab?
They didn't suggest rehab. It's just more like having an outlet, going to therapy. And this is something you'll see on this season of the show is we actually had a tarot card reader come to the house and was like very like pointed at me. And it's all good. It's stuff I need to hear. I mean, I come from a family of drinkers, and it's something that I just was kind of ignoring. I was like, oh, I'm on the show. Like I should be able to get drunk and do what I want. But it's like it's how I behave while I'm at these levels. I get super fired up. I get really like passionate and angry, and I'm just not good to be around. It's not someone I really want to be. And Bravo's kind of seen that, and they can see like, I mean, I'll go on like a 4-day bender and like literally all day for like 3 or 4 days, like very little sleep, drinking 25 to 30
drinks. Are you guys doing drugs and shit?
I mean, there's definitely been some weed, some cocaine, not on the, like, honestly, not on the show, but like, let's say outside of
periphery.
Yeah. Like just partying in New York. I mean, you literally
of course.
It's snowing right now.
It's literally snowing outside.
Wow.
It was not a metaphor.
But yeah, the drinking stuff is something I think there's other Bravo shows that I've paid attention to a little bit. Again, I bring up Vanderpump Rules because I'm familiar with them. There's 2 individuals on that show that have gone sober, and again, they work at bars in LA, so it makes sense. But like for me, like I've not gone sober, but I'm really analyzing and assessing my relationship with alcohol. Again, when I walk into these, we go to these events, we go to these press things. It's so easy to get caught in that, like, because people watch us partying on TV, so they want to party with you.
Of course.
Totally.
So it's opened up like a whole like level
Play a
of.
role.
It's hard. I talked to Francis about this, is like, as far as, your relationship with drinking, I know you've kind of, really modified a lot of that. I'm getting a lot more comfortable with just being completely sober. But it's still a work in progress. But yeah, Bravo is like, listen, you're hitting it too hard. There's other individuals on our show too that they've talked to about their drinking.
Interesting.
Crazy. And did you have an issue with it before the show?
No, not
okay.
Not that I thought. I mean, for me, like I could, like, for example, what's today, Wednesday? I can go 5 days during the week, working out, eating well, nothing at all, totally fine. I mean, I smoke weed, but I mean, a lot of weed. But Friday night, stay in Saturday morning.
Me too.
Yeah, go weed. Weed. But Saturday afternoon, brunch, fucking rip up a couple screwdrivers. Then you go vodka sodas to the face. And then next thing I know, it's Monday afternoon.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's just, again, I'm going to be 35 in 3 weeks. You wear it a lot easier. I mean, I already look like I'm an alcoholic.
Nah, you do.
No.
You look
But yeah,
good.
it definitely
I mean,
takes
good.
longer and longer to get over it.
It's harder to recover.
Dude, if I
Right.
can't, you're the thing that the problem is, right? That you, like, I don't do the share house thing in Mont. I grew out of that because it was too much. You get tired of not sleeping on the weekend. That Monday, going to work on Monday after a weekend in Montauk, all of a sudden feels like the most difficult thing in the world. It's like what you described, Giulio, about your day not on Adderall,
Right.
And when I was 25, it was nothing. You just kind of roll with it, no big deal. But then when I was around 28, 29, I couldn't handle going to bed at 3 a.m. anymore.
Oh.
And so I stopped going out there. And now I don't really drink as much. And you have been forced to prolong that 25-year-old lifestyle in the most heightened fashion possible for your livelihood.
It's hard.
And I just can't imagine how difficult that would be.
It's hard, but and then I look at it like this, and I probably doesn't want to say it, but it's a job.
Yeah.
It's gotten to that level where, again, we're very lucky. I mean, Kyle, Lindsay, myself, even Amanda, you can even add Hannah and Paige into this mix. We all work together to try and deliver a really entertaining, fun show.
Mhm.
But with that comes a lot of sacrifice. And for us, the drinking part, I mean, even Hannah, I would say, like, drinks way more than she ever thought she would, just because it's just what's expected, and it's what's kind of what the notion is.
Right.
Lifestyle.
But let's say I wasn't on, Bravo anymore. I would definitely not be drinking as much as I am or have been. It's just like you have a nice paycheck. You're having a good time.
You're getting paid to have a good time.
We're in the Hamptons.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, and then also I'm help launch an alcohol brand.
Right.
Yeah.
But the good part about that is it's helping me learn, I guess, my relationship with it. And I have been seeing a therapist, which Bravo was very supportive of.
Good.
for multitude of reasons. There are other Bravo shows that some of their talent, or if you want to call it that, their cast members, they actually also have them go to therapy. Just due to what occurs on the show, some of the, whether it's fights or people's opinions or just general information about your life. Like I've taken a lot of heat. I know others have, but I feel like mine is maybe a little bit higher than others.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been on the Andy Cohen's Watch What Happens Live the most of anybody on our show.
Huh.
And usually he has the most fucked up person on the most. So we'll see how it plays out this season.
Carl, where can we find you and your work?
So you can find me at Carl Radke on every social media platform. DrinkLoverboy.com. That's our hard sparkling tea. You can find it at Whole Foods. You can find a lot of bars here in New York, Massachusetts, Florida, also Wisconsin, just as of yesterday. And then I also just launched a podcast, which Francis is going to be on. I want you to come on, Giulio. It's called Carl Hates His Roommates.
Yeah.
Love it.
Who came up with that name?
Francis did.
I came up with the name for his podcast.
So he gets nothing and he'll like it.
I'm not going to get anything.
So yeah, that's just launched recently. So yeah, man, I'm going to be on Bravo TV, Summer House, season 4, February 5th.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Bravo TV, 9:00.
Hell yeah.
Thanks,
Hell
guys.
yeah. I'm at Helium Comedy Club March 5th through the 7th. Get tickets for that at francisellis.com. As always, at Francis CC Ellis on Instagram.
Yep. And
G?
at Not Julio, I got some dates coming up for the spring. So I will keep you posted about that. And thanks for listening.
Sweet. See you guys.